Good evening. Namaste. Welcome to you all in this weekly webinar series called VICHAR. It is an initiative of FIAV, Federation of Indian Associations of Victoria. My name is Surya Prakash Soni. I'm former president and current trustee of FIAV and AICCT. So this webinar, as we know, and as we are here to learn something new, and the initiative purpose is to bring real world experience from the people in our community, learn from each other, educate each other, we grow together. So with that thought, if you know anybody who could be best speaker on this platform, who can bring in their real world experience to share with the community, this is the forum for you all and for us all to bring in those speakers and share that knowledge. So without further delay, I welcome our speaker today, Naishadh Gadani. And he's been very long time friend and very proud, and thank you for joining today. And as a brief introduction, you are creative career practitioner and program manager and senior program coordinator at Monash University. So you've been doing lots of career mentoring and advocacy, and you've written some books, and I would request you to elaborate on all those things as well in your own introduction. But we are very excited to hear directly from you, from your experience for many years of career counseling experience, that what is the key current challenge and how do we maneuver around, how do we adapt, how do we learn, how do we enjoy the change rather than getting scared
Mhm.
out of it. So without further delay, welcome you again,
Thank you.
Nashid Bhai, and over to you.
Thank you, Surya. Yeah, so Surya and I go when we started to work at Celebrity India as part of the Diwali festival many years back. So my name is Naishad. I'm originally from Ahmedabad, and I used to be an engineer, but I'm now turned career counselor, career practitioner. So I've been doing this work for over 15 years now. My current role is with Monash University, where I work with undergrad, postgrad research students to help them prepare for careers. What's ahead of them. So I'll just straight away dive in, and I would suggest if you've got questions as I go along, please continue to either unmute and ask me those questions. I don't have a lot of answers around this because it's a very dynamic topic. It's a topic where even career practitioners or even the different associations are also grappling with this new ever-changing world that we are living in. But I've got some pointers to help you to figure out your sense in the world of work that we find ourselves. Obviously, you know, November 2022, when the world again changed, when OpenAI released the first Chat GTP, and everyone just went absolutely wow, what just happened in front of us? Obviously, we knew that Siri, Alexa, to various other forms of artificial intelligence existed, but not in this a huge scale where you can ask questions, where you can generate information, when you can do coding, when you can do just absolutely mind-boggling stuff. Obviously, there was the tip of the iceberg, and as we have seen, that after OpenAI, then you got Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, to Perplexity, to various other models have come into place. I think Surya is probably one of the quite knowledgeable around that one. And I think there is, as I was talking previously, that there is a genuine concern, not amongst us a graduate, but even school students to even professionals, that what's happening to my work. Obviously, a lot of industrial industrialization, to a lot of machines that came into existence, to a lot of robotics and everything else that impacted on a lot of manual work. Being able to produce car in Tesla with his almost robotics. In China, they manufacture a lot of EV products purely through robots. There are kitchens being operated; they are operated just plainly through. So I think those things we knew that was going to happen. But for the first time, that we are seeing the erosion of this artificial intelligence systems into white collar work, and which is what people are really absolutely in kind of genuine fear about or shock about, that what will happen to my work. And I believe that it's absolutely fine. If you're feeling anxious, if you're one of them, that you're feeling anxious about the future of your work, the tasks that you complete, and you don't know, the company is already kind of, working in the background and trying to figure out who's doing what and what task, and can we get something else to do, where we could get Naishad not to do this work, Naishad can do some other work, not this work. So it's okay. So going back to this, it's okay for you to feel anxious, being concerned, just not for yourself. If you got kids or grandkids, then you might be worrying about even them too. So what will happen? And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. It is very natural for a lot of us to feel the way we feel about artificial intelligence and the impact of it. Uh, just because what we always hear is overestimation of how AI will completely change the future of work, and we'll lose millions and millions of jobs, and most of us would be, what they call on, you know universal basic income, UBI, is a concept that is quite popular. It's getting some traction back in US or even Europe as well, where everybody will get a living wage, whether you're working or not working, just because they see this as a real threat to that. So wherever you are, you've got a utopian view or you've got a inspiring view about it, wherever you are is absolutely fine. The first one that we always need to look at is accepting that that's going to happen, regardless whether what you feel about it or not. Amongst career counselors, we have an ongoing debate about the work that what we do, and whether that has got any, what value can we generate for individuals, where people are using chat GTP or any other generative AI tool to write resumes and to get interview questions and prepare for interview questions. So where is the, and then they can go and say, okay, so I'm working as a business analyst and I want to move into cybersecurity. What do I need to do? And chat GTP or any other generative AI tool can actually prepare a plan for them and say, okay, so first you do this, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and improve the chances of that. So in this, the whole thing, and a lot of people that we are going to deal with are also going to be digital native. They've grown with this one. So we are also grappling with the same kind of issues that everyone else is grappling with. Another thing that to understand is that we have survived. Santosh Kumar ji will probably the wisest here, and you can see that you must have seen .com burst to internet and to social media and every other trends that has come through. We have survived. I think we will survive this also. It's not a question whether we are going to survive and the artificial intelligence will take over the world, and we are living in a kind of, what we say, in a lot of Hollywood movies depict that kind of work around that's going to control a lot of things. I think that's quite far away. Obviously, YouTube and everything else, or the technological, kind of the new tech garks, or they continue to spread this, that this is going to happen. I think those chances are very rare, and we should rather don't look at what's happening around the world. Focus on yourself and think about what can you do. So now, in order for all of us to survive or thrive, there are 5 things that I believe would be enormously useful, and I'm going to outline that with possibly some anecdotes and possibly some, because I also draw doodles, and I published a book called The Big Book of Career Doodles, which is around explaining career concepts through visuals and sketches. I'm going to show you some of them to help you kind of understand this. Sort of 5 points that I've kind of identified. The first one is called being curious about stuff. I think curiosity is something that we all have grown up with. We all want our kids to be curious until the kids start to ask really stupid question over and over again. We say, you know what, that's enough of curiosity. Now go and do your work, right? But I think being curious about our own work is incredibly important. Being curious about your work and what transacts with your work, what other elements that is transacting or intersecting with your work. So if I'm a mechanical engineer and I start to look at, I'm into manufacturing, start to look at what is becoming very, very clear to me is that there will be some automation coming onto my way, right? So what can I do about it? What if that automation is coming? What's in my control, and what am I curious about? What do I need to know now to continue to remain relevant into my field? So being curious about the world around you, being curious about the work that intersects with your work, also being curious about other things that are happening within the organization or within the work that you're pursuing is incredibly important. The second one is I believe that we should all treat our career as an experiment and we should all become a scientist. Having a scientific approach, like a scientist like thinking about our career. If you've been fortunate enough to learn design thinking in one aspect of design thinking is called beta testing, testing out your ideas, experimenting with ideas. So the more that you experiment with ideas, the more that you experiment with different things that you could do, you remain relevant. You are always thinking about what else can I modify my career to do. So having this scientist like thinking is incredibly, where you can think about, okay, I'm currently pursuing, I can just possibly share my own example. So even as a career counselor, I have been very, you know, very kind of, curious about and quite experimenting with generative AI tools in my own way. And I'm currently building custom GPT for the sketches that I've drawn and the visuals that I've drawn. That by click of a button, you can actually see a visual that works for you, and you don't need to do much. But I'm doing it because I'm curious about it, but I'm also experimenting. It may or may not lead me to build something which Microsoft would come and say, no, Naishad, we want to buy your product for $1 million. But I'm just doing it because I believe that there is a future. I believe that I can experiment with low cost, just my time. That's it. That's what's involved, right? The third thing that I think before we start to come on the call, we talked about learning. And I think my view is that we all learn every day. It's just that we've got a different view about learning. We believe that learning means that I can sit down and I'm participating in such webinars like this, and that's the only way that I'm learning. But learning meant that you are learning about things that you are interested in, but also things that you may not, that you are curious about. I'm always curious about. I've not registered, but since last 2 3 years, I've been considering to do a comedy training. There are a lot of comedy, improve comedy shows where you can go and they can teach you how to crack a joke. And I want to learn that because I believe that learning that completely outside of my comfort zone, but learning that will help me become a better storyteller to my workshops, will help me sharpen my skill, will help me communicate with my audience in a different way. So even that's also learning. So I'm consciously thinking about things which are not immediately relevant, but in the periphery of things that I can learn, acquire, and become a little bit different than what other people are doing. The fourth is that we also need to be able to connect the dots. ChatGTP cannot connect the dots. You can connect the dots because you've got a critical creative thinking going on and you are able to see your career and you're able to see the skills that you've learned. And if you see another skill, You're able to mix and match and feel that, you know what, if I do this, that will help me position myself a bit better. So to give you an example, many years back, pre-COVID, I ran a program called Australia's Got Fresh Talent, which was a program for skilled migrants and international students to help them pitch themselves in front of employers. I used to see Shark Tank a lot. I still see that. And then I saw, this talent, these talented immigrants, which are, profound. They got huge skill, but they don't get the platform to share their skills or share their stories. So I decided to merge these two ideas, Shark Tank and this immigrant thing, and I created Australia's Got Fresh Talent, where I invited employers to sit in the audience and migrants and international students actually pitched themselves, to these employers and recruiters and talent acquisition team. That really helped me to test out the idea, but also that I was able to connect two different concepts. Similarly, try those things out if you are able to connect to different concepts, because you are the one who, if you're fully immersed in your work and engaged in your work, you're able to see those connections emerging. And the fifth one, I would say the final one, is also talk to people. It's very incredibly important to talk to people, interact with people. That means that you got to, if possible, then network as much as you can. Not just network with, if you're in IT or engineering or science, go beyond that. Believe in the what we call, you know there's a theory that we call, it's called happenstance theory of happenstance, where a
Can you can you
psychologist.
can you describe what is it? Sorry,
Yeah,
happens.
so
How
so
do you
so
spell it?
happens tense
Tense.
happens
Yeah.
tense. Yeah. So happenstance is a was worked by, I forgot the name of the psychologist, but he said that great things in our life always happens by accident, not by design. You getting married, to you finding a job in Telstra, or you getting promoted, to you coming to Australia, you decided to pursue a particular career. A lot of things in our great things in our life happens by accident, not by design. But remember, these accidents can only happen, those accidents, if you are in that zone, or if you are right there in the scene. Accidents otherwise won't happen. For example, you can't expect somebody to knock on your door and say, Surya, this is the ticket for the 26 million lotto for this Thursday. Please take it. Those chances are 1 in billion. In order for you to improve your chances of doing that, you actually have to go and buy a ticket. That improves the chances. So when you interact with people, and when you talk to them, and when you go out and kind of learn about what other people are doing, those chances, those accidental happiness or accidental discovery of something is possible, not without that. So that's why it's incredibly for you I'll give you another example. My son plays competitive cricket, and we decided to, there's one particular net that we go on summer was not available, so we went to the another club's net, and I met somebody that I know, and he said, oh, why don't your son come and play with our seniors team, because we are looking for a couple of players. I said, yeah, why not? He can go and play if he's happy with it. He went, and he did quite well. So if he did not go, not necessarily that would have happened, but if he did not go, that would absolutely not have happened. So the thing is, you got to put yourself in in situations where these accidents can happen, where it sparks your curiosity, where it brings some creativity into the work that you are pursuing. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to show you a couple of things so that we can kind of discuss on this one. So this is my take on artificial intelligence. So your career, AI won't take your career. What will take your career is you having doubt about yourself and about your capacity to evolve, and your capacity to to learn, capacity to find new ways of doing things. But even bigger than that is imposter thoughts or imposter paradox that we say, is that I'm probably not good enough, that I cannot do this one and I cannot do this one just because I'm not good enough or I'm not competent enough, stuff like that. That will eat your career, not AI. Now, remember this is that AI still won't do this one for you. For job search or career management, taking action, AI still won't take your ability to take action. You still have to take action. You still have to take initiative to do something. You still have to believe in yourself to be able to survive and thrive. You got to be being intuitive, trust your instinct, and say, if I'm pursuing this pathway, it is possible. And I think someone commented on our chat just now, and I think before, is that they are also going through this one. What to learn out of everything, right? So always think about, can I design a small experiment before I take the jump into that? A lot of students that come to us and say, I want to do a master's. And I said, why do you want to do master's? He said, because I don't know, that's the only pathway. And I say, have you figured out how many people did you speak with that kind of validates your thinking that that's the only way that you have a great career? What's the thinking behind? So rationally, really ask question to yourself. Go and meet and interact with people to find out whether is that the only pathway. There are other pathways possible. Being creative, building genuine relationship, and having an emotional intelligence. These are the things that will be required, for you to be on artificial intelligence, that we will possibly all have to acquire. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to now turn to all of you. What
No,
questions? Yeah.
very good presentation and thoughts. Seema ji is asked in chat that if you can just highlight the bullet points on the 5 points you mentioned,
Sure.
just
So
for being
being
curious.
curious, treating your career as an experiment. It's not a final judge, it's an experiment. Learn as much as you can, but just not about your work, even outside of that. Connect the dots. See if you're able to connect the dots and connect two ideas and bring that into existence. And the fifth is interact, talk to people, network, interact with them. Those are the points.
Yep. Thank you so much. And I'll request the audience to raise your hand or unmute or ask your questions in the chat. But before anybody asks, I'll take a privilege to ask my own few questions, and not in particular order, but I was taking some notes while during the beginning of the call. So how do you see this, as you mentioned early in the call, that people are using AI to generate their resume, preparing for interview questions, and this must be creating a lot of chaos in this
Mm.
job market, that who is real, who is genuinely experienced versus what is the current trend of screening and validating if that person who is doing the interview is a real talent coming into the team?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I can give an example of the nursing students that we work with and at Monash. And some of the hospitals gave the feedback to Monash and other universities too, is that they are finding the cover letters that these students write is very generic. It is made from the same mold and everyone's writing it. So they said we cannot have this. So now they've changed that process, and now they potentially will be asking them to write a 500-word career intent statement. Why do you want to pursue this from your own experience? What do you want to learn and things like that? That you cannot generate through artificial intelligence. That has to come from you. They've also seen the impact of AI into when they interview. And they said some of the time students are not focused on the camera because they are looking at somewhere else and answering questions. Right? I think employers are also trying to figure out who is writing it properly or who's not right. So are the what we call applicant tracking systems, which scans resumes for particular keywords and everything. I think they will eventually also become a little bit more smarter around that. A lot of the time, that's why a lot of the time employers and recruiters spend on learning about people and not just relying on what they call the advertised job market. And you get inundated. Seek says that on an average, the employer receives around 150 applications per job on an average. Some would receive 10, some would receive 500 applications, right? But that's the last thing for the employers to do, to post a job online, because they are also aware of the impact of AI and how people are lazy to even write their own cover letter and customize that and understand that. So they are going to more and more rely on the informal ways to finding talent rather than relying on that one. That's going to be the impact of it. I do not have a kind of empirical evidence of whether they've already started to make those changes, Surya, but I think that's what will happen.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And another question, I'll request our audience to raise your hand as well if you want to ask some question or write your question in the chat. But few questions I'll keep asking in between. I can
please.
pause and let other people ask
Yeah.
as well. But one about your second number point about treat career as an experiment.
Mm.
With AI coming in for the white collar jobs, the tolerance for failure is becoming less. So we can't do experiment on job. We can do experiment off the job, but not on the job. Where do you see that
Yeah. Yeah.
contradictory aspect of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So what I meant by experiment is that, for example, you believe that you're working as a business analyst or a mechanical engineer, and you see that these jobs might get impacted, and you're starting to figure out what to do next about mine, right? I mean, experiment is in that you create different experiments for different career options and say, okay, I'm a mechanical engineer. Can I go and work in renewable energy? Okay. Can I work as a renewable energy engineer? I've got this knowledge of design and installations and how things work. And renewable energy or net zero global, this is an emerging market. Now then I have to think about, okay, what can I bring to this one? So first you understand your skill set and then say, okay, who do I know in renewable energy that I can reach out and talk to them and find out that whether my skills are applicable, in what way they are applicable. I have to do some job description research to find out in this particular job description what employers are really looking for, where the gap that I see exists. Now, is this gap that I can fill by completing a Udemy course or a 3 month course in RMIT, or can I do something on the sides on the weekend where I can interview some people, or I can go and do a virtual work experience, or I can go with hands on and do something in order to fill that gap. That's what I meant by
Yep.
experimentation.
So that
Yes,
makes sense. That there's no contradiction. That yes, you have to experiment outside your main profession. You can't make mistakes in your main profession.
that's right. That's right. Yes, that's the experimentation we are talking about. So I think we all have to be contingent. Let me just wait. I've got a fantastic doodle that I've drawn. Let me just find that doodle, and then I can explain that doodle of what I meant by that.
And you're
Uh,
setting a very good example yourself that being a career person, you're also a very doodle
Absolutely.
creative person, and you build
Absolutely.
very beautiful doodles there. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Think about this way is that if you see all the dots on the top, think about all these dots are your skills and strengths and interests and aptitudes, right? All of them represent something. Just out of that, you can create unlimited career possibilities. If you draw one out of it, it only intersects with few dots, remaining not,
Wow, very
right?
thoughtful. Yeah.
Right? The another way to think about it is that is the idea of Rubik's cube that we see. Rubik's cube has got 6 sides with 9 dots. Right? If you think about it, there are 54 sections. So let's say put dots, right? 54 dots, if you think about it, right? If you highlight that you've got 54 skills in right now, it could the skills will time management to technical documentation to stakeholder engagement to writing reports, whatever, right? And then if you put 9 skills right on one side and you look at that and say, what can I do with it? You come across with one career option. And then you turn around and put three, replace that with 3 new skills, that will come up with a different career option. If you think about that, what we have come to know is that Rubik's Cube offers quintillion possibilities, not even billion possibilities,
Wow. Yeah.
right? So I always believe that there is more than one self in us. We don't need to be one identity, work identity forever. And I can also generalize that because we are all Southeast Asian or probably from subcontinent. We've got this work and identity very interlocked that I cannot be anything except teacher. Or this is what I studied. There is no other way that for me to be than this one. So there is also resistance. Even forget about artificial intelligence. There is a resistance in our approach to in our thinking. It doesn't allow us to say, can you be this way? I believe that you can be anything that you want to be career, work wise, right? Provided if you are curious, provided that if you are willing to put in the hard work that's necessary and make those jumps. I've seen people take remarkable career changes, like absolutely remarkable career changes as well.
Thank you. Very thoughtful again. And I would like Simaji to unmute and ask your question. Don't be shy. Ask your question directly to Naishad bhai.
Yeah. Hello. First of all,
Hello.
I want to say thank you. It was such a
Pleasure.
wonderful session. I'm really enjoying, and it's an eye opener.
Thank you.
I'm always curious also, but
Yeah,
this is like beyond my imagination. So
sure.
thanks for that.
Pleasure.
At least I will start thinking, and I want
Yeah,
more session if we can have like that. I just want, because I'm from the teaching background.
sure.
So I just want to, yes, as I'm curious, I'm little bit like sometimes if we sit with the other people and they say, oh, AI is coming now, because I'm doing face to face classes, so AI will go and take it. But I have that confidence. AI
Mm,
cannot replace me. I'm much, much better than what AI can
absolutely.
offer other. So, but how I can integrate, because I'm not good in technology.
Mm,
So, how AI can be integrated in the education system, and from which point I should start? As you already said, that you should start taking some courses or something.
mm.
From where I should start uh,
Okay, so two
my
things.
journey?
Two things is that I think what I don't know how many of you studied or has had learned about design thinking. Do you know what's
No,
design thinking? Anyone here understand design thinking?
Yeah, I've read about
Yeah,
it. Yep.
that
Yep.
is right. One of the If you look at anybody who is innovative, anybody who does innovation, they are always focused on taking action, not worrying about to get that right or wrong. Right? They're always focused on let me try this out. I've come across this idea, let me try this out.
so
Can I
in that way
create
I am good. In that
okay,
way I'm good. I want to take actions.
yeah, okay. So that's the first thing. Is that
Okay,
is that is that you come across with 5 different things to integrate AI into your work. Pick one, try that out.
okay,
Acquire the skill, try that out in the classroom, try that out with somebody else. An experiment. You don't need to announce it to the
okay.
world, but experiment it in a small capacity. Because our career will only change. It's our career is like Titanic. It
Yeah,
you can't you can't move that Titanic just because you've got the hook turn coming up and you have to move. You can't do that. It
yeah,
requires small, concentrated,
mm,
persistent action for it to turn around.
yeah,
Remember that, right? So going back to this, so you got to have what we call bias towards action. The focus is today, can I take one action that will help me learn this, unlearn this, or help me move the needle further? It doesn't have to be 5 hour course. Sometimes it could be 5 hours. But sometimes it just could be reading a blog post and thinking, oh wow, that's an interesting way of integrating AI into education. Let me experiment that. What do I need to know? Then you take the help of AI and say, okay, this is the idea that I have. Can you further refine that for me?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
right? Okay, that's the way to begin. Small things, not big things. Small, 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 small things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Pleasure,
Thanks.
pleasure.
Thank you. Request any other audience to ask questions as well. Anyone has got any questions from this webinar in general about career and AI? While people are still thinking, just unmute yourself when you're ready to ask question. But while you're thinking, I'll ask, just make few comments that we are not promoting gambling
Yeah,
in this webinar. Is it just light note
yeah.
gesture there? So don't take it seriously. Don't go and buy lottery tickets after watching this webinar, as well as yep. I really appreciate you, Naishad, by sharing a thought here, and that I'm attaching my own experiences here. That by diversifying these webinars, I'm
Hmm.
learning, opening my mind to absorb new diverse topics without my interest or inclination toward those diverse topics. So I'm putting
Absolutely,
myself into difficult situation there, that I want to
absolutely,
speak to all diverse speakers here. So yeah, maybe these webinars could be good pointers for anybody to
absolutely,
diversify your thinking, diversify your
absolutely,
learning. So yeah, join more
absolutely.
regularly these diverse topics, even though they may not be of interest. For example, like our first speaker, Dr. Santoshji is here. He made a very thought, even though it was mathematical presentation, the very first webinar, he provoked lots of interesting thoughts around mathematics, even though it was a very mathematical presentation, but it was explained and expressed in very plain English, where we can relate to our day-to-day life, how we can adapt that chaos in our life and think outside the box. That was very creative. How to solve n+1 problem. Don't worry about nth problem. Just from here, as you said, Nish, by the design thinking, that people focus on action. That's what Dr. Santoshji said as well, that to solve nth problem, just start from where you are, just next problem first, then go one after another, then you'll reach to your goal, rather than thinking about very high mountain you need to climb. Just
That's right.
one step at a time.
That's right.
So yep, anybody wants to ask any question or Nishad bhai? Yeah, Hemant sir, over to you.
Having a little bit of different type of question related with the politics. Because nowadays, that is mathematically, people try to solve most of the problems, and AI is doing that sort of work. That is
Hmm.
mathematically, you are having a projections, and practically, it depends on the person one who is going to use it. That sort of a knowledge.
Hmm.
If you don't have any sort of an attention to the person, and when the data is changing that fast,
Hmm.
it creates the problem politically. That is what I feel. What is
Hmm.
your opinion about it?
Look, I think I listen to a lot of people talk about the pros and cons of the impact of AI on society, everything else. I think the way the AI advancement is happening is that our policies are probably million miles behind that. They are not able to catch up with that one. None of the policy, none of the government, to even state government or federal government policy, are able to catch up to the advancement and how quickly it is growing. I was talking to one of my friend about an idea that I'm working on, and he said, "Look, Nishad, today I'm telling you that this model is a great model, and we can focus on this. When you wake up tomorrow morning, I might change my view because that is not replaced by this one." Right? So I think there is a genuine thing or concern. I think probably government also are grappling with is what do you do with this one? Around misinformation to disinformation to even the data point, as you Hemant Bhai said, around people are throwing how many jobs will be gone. What will be the impact of it? There are some things are completely exaggerated. That even we believe that they are completely out of space. So I don't know. I don't know, right? I'm sure that the government is okay. That's my son telling me good night. Good night. So I think government is also grappling with the same
Thank you.
paradox.
Thank you very much.
But I don't have
Because,
answers. I don't.
yeah,
I'm. Yeah.
yeah, thank you very much. The
Yeah.
trustworthiness is the major problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Manchi. And Sita ji, you raised your hand as well. You want to ask? Yeah, you're mute here.
Excellent, Naishad ji.
Thank you.
Your speaking is awesome. And AI, nowadays, AI is very, it's going very fastly to everywhere,
Yeah.
to mobile or from kids on to old peoples also.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, in companies also, they are providing AI also.
Absolutely.
So simultaneously, there is a disadvantages also is there. Can you explain the disadvantages? AI is means now before we will read the book and we'll study a lot, but because of AI, by phone we can how can I tell?
Summarize the book before we read the full book. Yeah.
It's the AI is explaining very sorry, I can't tell.
Nicely
But,
or probably, yeah.
but
Exaggerate.
what? Please explain the disadvantages also, because
Look,
students
yeah.
concentrate goes very quickly to means like a robot like
Yeah,
AI.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
So
Look, I'm sure. I think as a as somebody who is in 40s or 50s would find it very difficult. Number one is that our own perception or our own experience of learning things. We have always learned the hard way. I'm sure Dr. Santosh Kumar would, possibly also concur, is that, a lot of people, I was talking to my son and I said, I never used a calculator until I was in my engineering. I never used it because we're not allowed to use
yeah,
it, right? Like,
but
what
now
do you
it
mean
is
by
allowing.
calculator? Exactly, right? So think, I think that has to do with how the advancements are happening. Even though we like it or don't like it, there will be impact of that.
But in future, AI is going very
So it
very
will be.
fast,
It will be.
because I went to AI business I heard lots of technology.
Absolutely.
I heard that, but simultaneously, same disadvantages also is there. So I was little bit scared, but we can't do anything. It's going on.
That's the point. That's the point. I think, look, if you got a job and we are having a dinner discussion on Friday night, we can probably talk until 3 o'clock in the morning about the advantage, disadvantage of AI. But on Monday morning, you're going to use AI, I'm going to use AI, right? So I think first and foremost, you got to look at yourself and say, what can I do with myself in my relationship with AI and the work that I'm doing? That's it. There are things which are beyond your control, my control, Anthony Albanese's control, anyone's control, right? People are going to do what they are going to do. The technology is going to move very quickly, very far. There's nothing that I can do. To give an example, I was talking to my son who's studying filmmaking, right? And I told him, I said, I need some of your help to work on my project that I'm doing. And you might need to use ChatGPT to help me. He said, I'm not going to use it. I said, what do you mean? He said, I don't want to use ChatGPT. I don't want to use it. That's my ethical conclusion that I don't want to use it because they are taking away all the artists' work and train the models, and now they are making money out of it. How ridiculous is that? Why would I be part of it? Now, that's an ethical position that he took. I don't know. He might change it after 6 months. I can't be certain. But you got to decide what works for you rather than thinking about or avoiding getting into this unless your job requires you to think more strategically or think more broadly about the impact of that, then I think it's a great discussion to have. But if you're focused on thinking about your own career, then you think about what can you do to make this work for yourself, that what's in your control to make that work. Now, coming back to how kids will learn and the impact of it, well, I'm sure that my dad, if you go and ask my dad, they would say, you guys learned the easy way. We learned the hard way. And I'm sure my grandfather would say that same to my dad. So I think this thing is a constant thing. We believe that what we learn the hard way and the tough way is the only way to learn. And these kids won't get like there's only few things that's in our control, unfortunately, Sita. So I don't know whether I answered that question.
Yep. So maybe I can add few things here that as a
Mhm.
constructive and positive thing, and because I'm a AI professional as my day job, everybody need to use AI as a tool. So bring it as a capacity as a tool. So for example, Seemaji, you need to use it as a tool. And as we all hearing that all these creative jobs, forget about creative jobs, the lawyers, doctors, all those profession are going to get impacted. I think OpenAI has disclosed some statistics. I'm not quoting exact statistics there, but they said 70% of queries overall in the world are coming for the health related queries. Only 20% for technology and other bits. So people are using AI for their general well-being and health and all those things. So then we talk about doctors like being highest paid professionals for that matter. So, but any individual, and one point you made, Nishad, very early on about point number 4, connect the dots. If you give large enough context to AI, it can connect the dots as well. The problem in our general day-to-day queries, we giving only very small context to the AI. That's why it's not able to connect the dots. But it can potentially, if you give large enough, and that is where in 2 years' time, when the general intelligence will come in after artificial intelligence, then that will connect all the dots together. So if we all as a collective, as an individual, we skill up and experiment with all diverse tools available in the market, most of them are free. And when you get used to one particular style of tool, then you can go and subscribe paid version and all, and but use it as a tool. For example, Seemaji, in your case, you can refresh your curriculum. You can generate problems, new assignment tasks, and you can use AI for assessing the assessment of your students. Small, as Nishad Bhai said, take small baby steps and use AI into day-to-day life. And as Kalpesh, by if you want to speak out your own words, but I can read it for you.
Thank,
Uh, thank you,
sorry.
Sitaji. Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
Sitaji.
Naji and Sonia ji.
Thanks.
Surya ji.
Th-
Sorry.
That's all good. No worries. Kalpesh ji, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Suri. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as I just mentioned in the chat, definitely there is a lot of negative talk about AI, in terms of the downsides, the disadvantages, and threats of AI. But I think there is always a silver lining, to it. Uh, and it's not as catastrophic as people make it sound. Um and if there are going to be problems, obviously, one person's problem is always another person's opportunity. So I am also kind of uh, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, but in past few years I have moved across to data analytics, and consequently I'm using AI practically every day in my job, and I kind of firsthand see a lot of problems and challenges of AI, particularly implementing it in a very large organization. But at the same time, it keeps me in the job. So, yeah, I think, yeah, so there is probably more uh, opportunity than threat from AI. That's what I would like to say. And yeah, so we just need to be optimistic, and yet just yesterday I was speaking to a very senior doctor, and he said that, look, we were threatened when calculators came, then we were threatened when PCs came, and then we have seen Y2K, we have seen dot-com burst, and we have most recently we have seen the pandemic. So we've been through everything, uh, and in hindsight I think they don't appear as catastrophic as they may appear in the first instance. So yeah, I think being optimistic and open minded and just thinking laterally, and as Naishad bhai said, think outside the box, and I think I loved uh, that those dots that he showed. I think that's a great example of thinking outside the box. And I also loved that analogy of Rubik's cube, that if you put your 54 skills on, as 54 uh, dots on that Rubik's cube, every combination is a new opportunity for you. So I think that's a great thought, and I really loved that. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Thank you, Kalpeshi. Yeah, very, very nice thoughts. I'm conscious of time, but I'll briefly add a couple more points because that's the general interest about AI. Is that what I see in the industry in general? Overall quality of documentation and process has improved significantly. People using generative AI has produced quality outcome rather than manual and people what they used to do before. Now there's no excuse for the quality. So in coming months and years, we'll see very quality outcome, well documented, well streamlined processes, and also that's one positive thing. Another side effect I see, which is natural, especially in teachers, Simaji, looking at you, that we have seen increased curiosity. The way we ask question, the more accurate articulation has become very important. How do you articulate your question makes a huge difference in the outcome of the generative AI. So the language, you don't need to learn technology, Simaji. It's a it's a English plain language is the technology of the day with generative AI. How well articulated your question is defines the outcome of AI. So you are in the great spot to develop next generation young kids asking right questions, articulating their things very well. Only side negative thing I see with the young people is that they are over relying, blindly following AI and not applying their brain or asking right question and copy pasting things, as you very heavily experience in Naishadh in university setup. That they need to do the due diligence. They need to really ask the right question or really validate what they see. Many young people I see in work environment as well, that they're blindly copy pasting without actually reading what they're pasting in the first place. So that's my thought. But Nishad, I'm conscious of time, so I would like you to make any closing comments and wrapping up the session. If
No,
there's
no,
anybody, no
no,
question, yeah.
no. I think I don't. As I started with, I don't have a lot of answers. I am also an equal participant in this discussion as also an influencer, if that's the right word to say, but also an equal participant. Because our jobs are also not at risk as much, but we see a lot of things are coming into play with us. So I think yes, just stay curious about stuff, experiment with that, learn, learn different things, and also connect the dots. I think we have the capacity to see two different distinct things and being able to connect it. I think we are the only ones who has that capacity because we are intuitive. We have got this experience. So don't also value your experience for these many years. Reflect on that one and try to connect the dots. If you see somebody else is doing interesting stuff, ask them, hey, how did you find it? What a great way to doing it. I want to learn about it. Tell me more about it, right? Try to create as many happenstance as possible where you accidentally discover things. There's a I think Zappos was the company back in Silicon Valley. I don't know. I think they've gone bust, right? Zappos, I thought Zappos, yeah. But they used to have this thing around accident creating luck or creating opportunities. Is that there were many doors to come in when you come to the office, but there's only one door to get out. And the intentional design was that then you meet people accidentally. And so, oh shit, you're doing this? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh wow, okay, let me do that, right? Those are the things that we got to learn now in organization because we work work from home and distributed teams. So those accidents are rare. So where can you go and have these accidents or serendipitical moments? Is you go outside, ask people, what do you do? Don't ask them just that. Okay, tell me more. What exactly do you do? I'm always, whenever I go and meet anybody, my first question is, tell me, what do you do? And I'm always curious, not necessarily about anything, but I'm trying to connect things and trying to make sense of it. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Naishad bhai. I think you've planted a very good seed into our mind, and this is how we'll change and our thinking day to day life. And this is the main interest and outcome of these which are webinar is that we are hearing from the real world experience people. They're sharing their years or decades of experience to us in this small setup. They're planting the seed into our mind. That is the main idea, that we spread these ideas, elevate the knowledge of our community, and grow together from there. So, with that note, those who are watching it on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share these links and to more wider community to participate, make this community bigger. And with that note, we'll have another week of webinar. We'll update on the WhatsApp group, those who are in the group. And thank you so much, Naishad
Thank
bhai,
you.
once again. And
Pleasure, opportunity.
so
Excellent. Thank you very much.
we'll